Welcome Chosen X. You emerge into an hour where ordinary routines fracture and reveal a narrow path of intent beneath the noise. A quiet rearrangement takes place inside where promises made under pressure loosen like knots in an old rope, and small decisions begin to carry the true measure of your will. Breath becomes a deliberate instrument, motion becomes chosen, and each refusal saves a fragment of energy that reconstitutes into purpose. In reflective surfaces you encounter a face both familiar and revised, a map of scars and vows that chart the quiet bargains you once accepted. Movement acquires deliberation and an economy of attention is established that favors depth rather than spectacle. You reserve a presence for those whose company reciprocates and treats invitations as choices rather than obligations. When absence replaces availability, hidden scaffolding trembles and reveals what was built upon the assumption of endless access. Structures that relied on your readiness wobble and disclose material that was never meant to support genuine belonging. Observers register these changes like distant weather. Some watch with careful interest, learning to calibrate their own margins. Others react with strategies that once worked against you, offering familiar narratives to pull you back into patterns. Their attempts arrive as memory bait, as overly affectionate reminders, as public gestures designed to provoke guilt or favor. You register all approaches with a composed assessment and answer with boundaries that do not demand explanation. This recalibration produces collateral clarity. Choice distinguishes dependency from care. Where needs masqueraded as affection they become visible as extraction. Where mutual exchange existed it deepens and accrues trust. You notice opportunities aligning with private intentions rather than with applause. Peers present questions that land with echoing relevance to projects you have tended in silence. Those moments indicate that a field has been cultivated by quiet fidelity rather than loud proclamation. Energy once diffused toward appeasement consolidates into practice. Quiet hours become workshops in which skill and insight regenerate. The small rituals of study and craft expand into durable habits that transform eventual outcomes. You hold time as a resource and place high tariffs on trivial consumption, using reclaimed hours to nurture creativity and patience. This patience produces a canvas upon which subtler work appears. The posture of refusal is not antagonistic, it is precise. You do not repel kindly people, you attract aligned ones by occupying an unmistakable center. Clarity acts like a magnet that draws those ready to contribute and sifts out those who seek to harvest emotional supply. Your steadiness offers both an invitation and test. It signals that reciprocity is required for engagement and that exploitation will be met with gentle intransigence. Absence functions as a form of information transmission. Places you frequented are subtly reconfigured by your leaving. Conversations pivot toward your name as a reference point for unresolved balances. Where once smooth surfaces people now consult quieter strategies to interpret why the pattern has altered. The search for old ease reveals the cost of prior agreements and invites new actors to step into forms that are reciprocal. All of this is not a purge but a reformation. The life you are assembling is not smaller, it is truer. You practice discretion in what to maintain and what to relinquish, and you hold tenderness alongside exact standards. The inner movement is not about spectacle but about fidelity to a core that does not require applause. Keep cultivating this interior economy with patience and rigor so that the ground you stand upon can nourish a larger harvest of genuine belonging and meaningful labor. Tend the slow work, small acts compound into structures that outlast imitation and reveal enduring grace. Keep steady hope. You step from the life you recognized into a chamber sculpted from echoes and half-remembered sentences, where the past repeats until it refits itself around what you refuse to be again. Sounds arrive like thrown stones that would have once startled you into apology. Now they land and ring while you stand still and observe their patterns. Your attention becomes a filter. It accepts signals and returns noise to its source. In this space familiar voices loop phrases that once dictated your pace. They call your name with reasons that thinly mask desire for control. You begin to catalog these returns. Some are gestures of genuine care that arrive patient and clear. Others arrive as rehearsed urgencies that want to reclaim your time and appetite. Over time you learn to weigh the echo by its residue. Care leaves warmth. Appetite leaves a hollow. You discover methods to resist automatic answering. Breathing with intent softens the pull of reflex. Naming what surfaces strips it of sudden authority. A brief note saved in private moves a swirling thought into an item to be managed rather than a storm to be weathered. These small practices are not armor. They are tools that teach you how to steward attention. The chamber teaches that explanation is often the currency of obligation. You once spent it freely to keep others comfortable. Now you treat it like currency and budget its use. When someone seeks clarification to dominate the conversation, you offer silence instead and watch how dynamics reconfigure. Silence does not require righteousness. It is a boundary practiced with restraint. There will be moments when echoes conspire and recite a version of you that fits old stories. They will sound convincing because they know the script. Hold your place without correcting every line they recite. Correction gives the playwright continued power. Your steady presence reroutes their energy toward observation rather than siege. Among the repeating cadences, a single motif emerges and settles like a pebble at the center of your awareness. Let it be a notch on your map rather than a verdict. Its return will become a key when later choices must be sharpened. For now, receive it as a guidepost that will make sense in the narrowing of time. You meet interior versions of yourself here, the one who chose appeasement for safety, the one who practiced removal to survive, the one who still hopes approval will return meaning. Welcome them with impartial regard. Integration is the task. No part of you is traded away. You do not exile your tenderness. You reassign it to people and purposes that reciprocate. Observers outside will misread this chamber as indifference or distance. You know better. Distance here conserves capacity and preserves the ability to give without collapse. Labels applied by those who did not enter the room are not measures of your truth. Turn echoes into materials. Let them provide fuel for refinement rather than scripts for return. Harvest what instructs and discard what clings to fear. As you practice this craft, the chamber changes from trap to studio. Sounds stop functioning as entrapment and begin to feed a careful practice of presence. This work is patient. It has less thunderclap and more persistent architecture. When you leave the echo chamber, you will carry a map, a careful cadence in your pocket, and a softer patience for the motions of return. Keep the motif close. When it reappears later, you will recognize it and use it to choose differently. Walk back into the world with the room taught into your bones. Let the chamber's lessons settle into the small muscles of decision. Practice refusing with kindness, answering with minimal expenditure, and reserving explanation as a rare gift. As echoes return, you will notice how those who seek to extract either adapt or fall away. Keep tending this interior field. Its harvest will be a life scaled to truth and steadiness rather than spectacle. Stay measured. Let presence become quiet power. You leave the echo chamber behind but carry its architecture within your spine, a latticework of patience, discernment, and unshakable noticing. Outside, the world presses with habitual gravity, expecting responses born of reflex and acquiescence. You respond instead from a quieter place, a source that has learned not to trade attention for comfort or to permit urgency to dictate terms. Every step becomes deliberate, a vector measured by internal clarity rather than external demand. Your presence begins to exert a subtle effect. People sense the recalibration in your movement, the way your attention does not scatter at their cues, the way your gaze lands without needing approval. They may mistake this for aloofness, but it is something more profound, the equilibrium of someone who has rehearsed interior sovereignty so deeply it cannot be unsettled by rehearsal, argument, or expectation. Encounters that once extracted emotional toll now return the observer to themselves, prompted by the boundaries you hold without declaration. You begin to notice patterns of manipulation that previously went unnoticed. Whispers, indirect questions, staged coincidences, each tactic now registers as predictable and solvable. The tools of coercion that once operated like invisible gears beneath social exchange now clatter harmlessly against the shields you have constructed. No shame, no guilt, no fear can breach this fortress because it has been crafted from self-recognition and sustained by the meticulous application of presence and discernment. In these interactions, a new energy circulates around you, one that cannot be imposed upon or negotiated. Your absence from reactive dynamics forces others to confront the gaps in their own behavior. Some react with awe, curiosity, and emulation, studying your manner of refusing to participate in cycles that never served anyone well. Others react with agitation, the tremor of authority unrecognized. They may attempt to reinstate old scripts, yet each attempt fails, slipping against your consistency as water slides off polished stone. The refinement of your autonomy is not merely defensive. It is constructive, fostering new landscapes within which creativity, alignment, and authentic connection can flourish. You begin to fill voids with deliberate choice rather than desperate compliance. You notice the opportunities that were obscured when compliance consumed your days, collaborations, insights, and moments of quiet revelation. Every refusal becomes a declaration that your energy will nourish only what resonates with purpose and integrity. This period of expansion teaches you subtleties in relational dynamics. The world operates on rhythms of expectation, assumption, and habitual compliance, but your cadence no longer matches these measures. You move in time that is yours alone, resisting the pull of old patterns. Relationships and projects previously governed by external pressures now recalibrate or dissolve, and in their absence, alignment emerges. New interactions bear resonance. Every dialogue, exchange, or collaboration mirrors the integrity you have cultivated, attracting participants who value reciprocity over extraction. Within this reformation, you discover a further depth, the ability to act with profound impact without announcing it. Influence radiates silently, detectable only to those attuned to authenticity and accountability. Decisions made in alignment with internal truth ripple outward, altering dynamics subtly yet permanently. The force of your autonomy generates clarity, not chaos. It illuminates weaknesses in manipulative systems without aggression. Even as you navigate these landscapes, you maintain a keen awareness of the delicate balance between engagement and non-participation. You choose where energy flows and where it remains undisturbed. This mastery of movement, intention, and emotional economy ensures that the power you wield is sustainable and grounded, a beacon of sovereignty rather than spectacle. Every interaction becomes a test of alignment. Will this moment feed your evolving architecture, or will it attempt to draw you into patterns that dilute your center? The answer is always measured by an internal compass. You refuse the old scripts without struggle, and in doing so, cultivate not only personal freedom but the quiet revolution of others who witness your presence and remember the potential within themselves. Your autonomy deepens, carrying the echoes of the chamber but transformed into a living blueprint for interaction, growth, and resonance. You walk through each day with a careful rhythm, each step both a statement and a safeguard, cultivating an orbit where the authentic thrives, manipulation fails, and the energy of life is reclaimed in its most potent form. You enter a realm where influence bends around your stillness and gestures carry weight without effort. The world has become a lattice of interactions, some familiar, others freshly patterned, and you move through them as one attuned to currents beneath ordinary perception. Each conversation, glance, and choice resonates with the clarity of someone who no longer submits to inherited scripts. You navigate not with force, but with the quiet insistence of presence, each act measured and exact, a note in a composition only you can conduct. People notice, though they cannot articulate why. Some recoil at the ease with which you hold your center. Others are drawn to the stability that seems almost gravitational, a field created by consistency and unyielding adherence to self. Where they expected vulnerability or hesitation, they encounter decision and integrity. Your attention, once dispersed in response to external demands, is now a tool that directs and defines every encounter. You no longer lend your energy to what diminishes or distorts your purpose. Patterns of control, subtle and overt, are now transparent. Past attempts to manipulate or coerce reveal themselves as predictable rhythms, and your response is neither reactive nor performative. You act from a place of profound internal authority, choosing engagement only when it aligns with principle. These choices reshape relationships, disassemble old hierarchies, and invite new participants who resonate with truth rather than expectation. The architecture of influence has shifted, your refusal to participate in cycles of exploitation radiates, prompting others to reevaluate their own complicity. Your autonomy begins to manifest in expansive ways. Opportunities once hidden by distraction or compliance emerge as natural alignments. Paths that once required negotiation now open effortlessly, reflecting the resonance of intention over submission. You begin to realize that the absence of compromise yields not conflict, but clarity. Life moves in accord with an internal rhythm, and the world begins to adjust in subtle, unmistakable ways to accommodate the new cadence you inhabit. The energy you cultivate is neither static nor defensive, it acts as a magnetic field that differentiates between resonance and friction. Encounters with those who operate from extraction or deceit are met with steady disengagement, not hostility. Your presence becomes a measuring stick for authenticity, exposing pretenses without confrontation, revealing necessity without judgment. In this way, influence is not asserted, it emerges naturally from the coherence of being. Every action is now layered with intentionality. Choices reflect alignment with your highest principles rather than social expectation. Decisions, whether mundane or profound, reverberate with subtle authority, illustrating the power of internal sovereignty. Others watch in fascination and discomfort, noting the consistency of a person who navigates life without seeking validation or approval. Curiosity mingles with intimidation, as they sense a mastery that cannot be approached through persuasion, pressure, or ritualized influence. This sovereignty extends beyond personal boundaries, it shapes perception itself. Observers begin to recognize the difference between projection and genuine presence, and your discernment radiates like an unseen architecture guiding interactions. The lessons of restraint and observation compound into a discipline that is both protective and generative, creating space for ventures, relationships, and opportunities that reflect integrity. The subtle recalibration of energy around you transforms ordinary spaces into arenas of alignment. Meetings, social gatherings, and professional exchanges now respond to your internal rhythm, and those attuned to authenticity naturally find access. Others confront the absence of old access points, experiencing the limitations of manipulation in real time. Your influence is not imposed but unavoidable, a current that attracts cooperation while repelling extraction. In this stage, you are not merely resistant, you are generative. The field you inhabit produces alignment, clarity, and opportunity. You discover latent abilities, unearthing skills and insights previously submerged under obligation. The cultivation of self-responsibility becomes a creative act, shaping not only your trajectory but subtly guiding others toward authentic resonance. In every encounter, your presence conveys a message, authenticity commands attention, integrity attracts alignment, and sovereignty cannot be simulated. Here, your life becomes an ongoing demonstration of disciplined freedom. Each choice, each boundary, each moment of discernment reinforces a reality that honors truth above all else. Your autonomy is no longer reactive but proactive, a living architecture that resists manipulation while inviting genuine connection. The field you occupy grows in magnitude and influence, a testament to the power of self-mastery and intentional living. You have arrived at a precipice where the familiar landscapes of expectation dissolve beneath the gravity of your presence. Here, the currents of influence no longer carry the weight they once did, and the echo of approval or fear reverberates weakly against the unshakable core you have cultivated. Every choice you make is a declaration of sovereignty, a meticulous orchestration of attention, energy, and intention that demands no audience yet radiates with undeniable authority. Time moves differently now. Moments of indecision, hesitation, or self-doubt that once shaped your actions are replaced by clarity that slices through ambiguity. Decisions manifest with the precision of someone attuned to both the unseen rhythms of consequence and the subtle alignments of opportunity. Each action is measured, not by reaction, but by the resonance it holds with your authentic self. The world responds to this unspoken magnetism, bending imperceptibly to the gravity of your consistent truth. People who encounter you sense this shift, though most cannot articulate its source. Some are unsettled, feeling the absence of leverage they once assumed. Others are drawn inexorably toward the stability and alignment you embody. Your presence communicates without words, a silent standard by which others unconsciously measure themselves. Where once manipulation might have dictated outcomes, it now falls upon resistance it cannot penetrate, dissolving against the clarity and constancy you radiate. This stage of your evolution is not merely defensive but actively generative. The energy you cultivate functions like a lattice, organizing interactions and relationships according to principles of reciprocity, integrity, and mutual respect. You recognize extraction, deception, and coercion with clarity, choosing engagement only when it aligns with your inner compass. Every refusal, every careful selection of attention, becomes a statement, or recalibration of the field that surrounds you, and a teaching for those attuned to authenticity. The mastery you now exhibit reshapes environments. Ordinary spaces, workplaces, social gatherings, even casual encounters begin to respond to the cadence of your presence. People unconsciously adjust their behaviors, measuring the alignment of their intentions against the consistency of your being. Influence is no longer borrowed, demanded, or imposed, it emerges naturally, a reflection of internal coherence and unyielding adherence to principle. Within this architecture of autonomy, you discover hidden depths of capability. Skills and insights that were dormant under the weight of expectation and compliance awakened. Creativity, judgment, and strategic foresight manifest with an ease born of disciplined self-governance. You perceive patterns others cannot, anticipate outcomes before they unfold, and move through spaces with both grace and authority. Each choice not only protects your sovereignty but amplifies it, building a life aligned with purpose and authentic resonance. The interplay between visibility and discretion becomes a refined instrument. You engage selectively, offering attention and collaboration where it carries genuine value, withdrawing where it risks dilution or extraction. Your absence is as meaningful as your presence, signaling standards, boundaries, and the non-negotiable nature of your autonomy. This balance generates both clarity and magnetism, drawing aligned energy while discouraging exploitation. As your field of influence expands, others begin to recognize the inevitability of transformation. They observe a model of intentional freedom, the embodiment of choice untethered from fear or obligation. The effect is subtle yet profound. It invites reflection, inspires integrity, and disrupts patterns that depend on compliance and acquiescence. Your evolution acts as both beacon and mirror, revealing the possibilities of disciplined sovereignty while highlighting the gaps in those who remain tethered to manipulation or expectation. Here, at this threshold, you realize that true power lies not in dominance but in the clarity and fidelity of self-directed action. Every act, every boundary, every moment of disciplined attention reinforces an architecture of life built upon principle rather than reaction. In this space, the resonance of your being teaches without effort, commands without aggression, and manifests influence without surrender. You have arrived not at a conclusion but at a new plane of existence, where sovereignty, authenticity, and freedom are lived realities, radiating outward in a current that others cannot ignore and cannot replicate. And as you inhabit this plane fully, the stage is set for what comes next. What awaits is beyond the reach of ordinary expectation, a continuation that cannot be experienced fully through words alone. The next phase of revelation unfolds elsewhere, where the rhythm of your sovereign presence meets its ultimate expression. There, in that space, the next act of awakening beckons, waiting for those ready to witness, to engage, and to step into a reality that surpasses every known limitation. Keep your focus, the path continues, but its true unveiling lies in the next encounter, the next vision, the continuation beyond this text. You stand at the culmination of a journey that has stripped away illusions and reconstructed reality from the bedrock of self-knowledge. The world no longer dictates terms, and the once unquestioned currents of expectation have dissolved into transparency. Every decision you make is a declaration, every boundary a living monument to clarity, and every pause and interaction a testament to the sovereignty you embody. You move through life not as a participant in prescribed dramas, but as an architect of presence, a composer of outcomes attuned to resonance rather than reaction. This stage of awakening is not an endpoint, it is the genesis of continuous creation. The space you inhabit is simultaneously a sanctuary and a beacon. Those who approach with authenticity are welcomed into alignment, while those who seek to extract, coerce, or manipulate and counter an immovable force. Your energy shapes reality without aggression, guiding outcomes through consistency, discernment, and the silent authority of self-command. Even absence carries weight, and the void you leave in previous patterns becomes a mirror in which others confront their own dependencies, limitations, and unexamined attachments. The mastery you have cultivated extends into foresight. You perceive trajectories that remain hidden to those mired in reaction and expectation. Opportunities align with precision because your choices emerge from internal guidance rather than external influence. Patterns of deception and coercion are recognized and rendered impotent before they can manifest. You anticipate the moves of those who might attempt to regain leverage, yet your anticipation is not defensive, it is creative, a preemptive construction of reality in harmony with your values and purpose. Your presence has become a force of transformation. It radiates influence without imposition, teaching without discourse, and asserting authority without confrontation. This energy cultivates alignment in environments you enter, inspiring others to reflect, adjust, and rise to the frequency you inhabit. People who once depended on manipulating emotional responses find those tools ineffective, and in that failure, they encounter the clarity and integrity of your being. The effect is subtle but undeniable, a quiet revolution unfolding around the constant gravity of your self-possession. Within this continuum, every action you take, every silence you maintain, every boundary you assert serves as a vector of growth for yourself and a mirror for others. Observers unconsciously learn resilience, discernment, and the discipline of autonomy by witnessing your fidelity to internal authority. Your life becomes a living curriculum of sovereignty, a testament to the potency of deliberate existence, and a demonstration of what is possible when one refuses to participate in cycles of diminishment. This final phase of the journey synthesizes every lesson you have absorbed: the vigilance of observation, the wisdom of measured detachment, the subtle power of presence, and the unassailable clarity of self-direction. You are no longer merely untouchable, you are generative, a source of inspiration and transformation. Your energy permeates spaces, influencing outcomes without interference, revealing truth without accusation, and illuminating pathways without demand. As this chapter reaches its apex, you encounter a threshold where the narrative of transformation intersects with the ongoing experience of life itself. What unfolds next cannot be fully contained in text, it demands immersion in the continuation of revelation. The next encounter awaits you, a video manifestation where the depth of your awakening extends beyond the written word. There, the energy, the lessons, and the guidance converge, offering interactive resonance that deepens the understanding of your sovereignty and amplifies the transformative process you have embodied. You are invited to engage fully, to witness the unfolding not as a passive observer, but as an active participant in the continuum of awakening. Click, watch, and allow the experience to extend the power and clarity you have cultivated. Subscribe and enable notifications to ensure every further manifestation of this illumination reaches you without delay. This is where the story transcends text, where your evolution continues in vibrant, living form. The video is not supplemental, it is the next chapter of your journey, the place where the resonance of your sovereignty interacts with energy and motion, and the sacred continuation of the path you have walked begins anew. You have arrived at the culmination, yet also at the portal of infinite potential. What you see, feel, and experience next will solidify the lessons, extend the insights, and ignite the next wave of alignment within and around you. The screen before you is not just an image, it is a conduit, a bridge to the living experience of your own authority, a space where presence, energy, and intentionality converge. Step forward and claim this continuation, for it is in this immersive encounter that the awakening fully manifests and your sovereign journey expands beyond the page into reality itself.